Good evening. This is Thomas Simpson with Afrosolo TV here. We're here live at SF Live in San Francisco. Thank you for joining us. We're here for another really wonderful interview. As you know, Afrosolo TV is part of Afrosolo Theater Company. Our goal is to showcase, present, and give voice to the African American as well as the African diaspora experience of people here living in the United States. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Raja. She's originally from New York, but she's been living in the Bay Area for a number of years. We'll find out a little bit about how long she's been here and what actually brought her here, and a little bit about her movement into the music arena. So, welcome, Raja. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
That's great. It's very nice to have you here. You are from New York.
Upstate New York, Buffalo.
Okay. Not New York City. Ooh, it gets cold there.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I had a friend who's from Buffalo, and sometimes they have those 2 or 3 foot snows.
Yes.
Wow.
Love being out here. Love being out here.
Yeah. How long have you lived out here?
I've lived in San Francisco about 34 years.
Wow.
About 34 years.
Okay. Well, are you a New Yorker or are you a San Franciscan?
Buffalonian.
You're a Buffalonian.
Buffalonian.
Now, you still have parents or people back there?
Yes, my mom. Actually, yes, my dad used to live in L.A., but he has since moved back to Buffalo, and my mother lives there. She still lives in the same house. Still has the same phone number she's had since I went to kindergarten.
Wow.
And my oldest, my daughter lives there, and she's in college, but she loves living there, and I have a lot of family members who still live there.
Do you get to make it back often?
I haven't been back in a couple of years, but I'm due to go back. Either this year or next year for sure.
So most of your family members are still back there?
Yes, either there or on the East Coast.
Sure. That reminds me of my family. I'm from Nashville. So most of my family are in the Nashville area, Atlanta area, or the Louisville area. So there are some in Cincinnati and some in Detroit, but that's kind of the area over there. So I feel for you.
Louisville, Kentucky?
Louisville, yeah, Louisville, Kentucky.
I have family in Louisville.
Oh, really?
My sister's in Bowling Green, but her kids live in Louisville.
Yeah, Bowling Green is not too far from Nashville. I used to go up there. So anyway, that's good to know. We have that connection. But in terms of your art, you're a jazz vocalist. When do you remember the first time you heard someone perform jazz?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think my mom always loved listening to Nat King Cole.
Yes.
And my dad enjoyed listening to jazz. So maybe that's, I can't say exactly what it was he would listen to, but my dad is a kind of person who could hear a note and a few bars of a song on a record, and he could tell you, oh, that's so and so. And so he's always been a real jazz buff. My mom is more into spiritual music.
When you say spiritual, you're talking about black gospel?
Gospel.
The Mahalia Jacksons?
Hymnals.
Hymnals? Okay,
yeah.
Wonderful. So, in terms of your getting involved with jazz now, is it something new for you, or did you sing as you were growing up?
I've always sung. Music has always been a part of me. I grew up in the Baptist church, and I'm not Baptist now, but I grew up in the Baptist church, and I have my family members who are ministers. They sing from the pulpit.
Yes.
I grew up in the choir, and in high school, and in junior high school, I always sang in the chorus. There. So I've always loved singing. My mother used to always sing around the house, and my mother actually could whistle too, but I can't whistle. But I did inherit her ability and her that singing gene. So for me, I like to think that I came out of the womb singing.
Wow.
That's the way I feel about it. It wasn't until as I got older that I really felt that jazz was my niche.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of your beginning, was it classes or is it just, church and home?
My early stages was home and church.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older and as I was in school, I began to be more involved with the choruses. It really wasn't though until recently, because I feel like I'm a late bloomer as
Mm-hmm.
far as getting it as becoming a jazz vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started going to the community college, and I connected with a friend of yours.
Good, and we'll talk about that in a
Okay.
little bit. We're gonna stay back in the
Okay.
formative
All
years.
right.
Do you remember the first time you were on stage, or in the choir? You remember your first taste of being in front of people performing?
During those moments, Easter and Christmas, when you have to
Yeah.
learn that
Yeah.
mile high piece and stand in front of everybody and recite it. I think that was the beginning of being in the public,
Mm-hmm. And that was in the church.
in the church.
Do you remember what age you were then?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just remember being very young and someone handing my mother this is what she has to learn, and you sit down every day and you go over it, and you go over it and you go over it.
Mm-hmm.
I also took piano lessons for a short time,
Mm-hmm.
for a very short time, and so enough to have, I think, a couple of recitals when I was younger. But
Wow.
after about preteen, then I stopped taking piano lessons and I forgot all of that.
Wow. I didn't know you had taken piano lessons.
Yeah.
Have you, well, we'll get into that a little bit. In terms of people who you feel inspired you, in terms of your musical career, do any particular artists come to mind?
I've always, listening to Nat King Cole,
Mm-hmm.
I also love Johnny Hartman,
Mm-hmm.
and then Ella Fitzgerald and Sarah Vaughan and Nancy Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Those have always been my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Now I also love Cassandra Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I really like her style, and Nina Freeland.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, yeah.
What inspires you to sing now?
Singing to me is that it's my therapy. That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a moment in my life when I wasn't very comfortable with myself, but I found for me singing it just helped calm me, and it became my friend and my lover and everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
It was also something that as I was raising my children, I was able to help calm them and sing songs to them.
Mm-hmm. So you said that you feel that you are a late bloomer in terms of getting up in front of people, doing your jazz singing, but singing has always been there.
Always
Singing has been your friend.
Yes.
Do you know, in terms of how you decided jazz as opposed to pop, as opposed to spirituals, in terms of what your focus would be? How did you decide on jazz?
I feel like I've always loved jazz. As I said, I've always enjoyed listening to jazz vocalists singing, coming up. But I love pretty much all music.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that jazz has been that style that has been comforting to me. It's like when you put on something, or you have those favorite shoes that you like to wear. It's like you can wear different shoes, but it's like those shoes that you feel comfortable when you wear. And for me, when I sing jazz, I just have this sense of comfort.
Mm-hmm.